and thank you very much for inviting me to speak today, and thanks for coming. The computers may be taking over the world, but I had one of the most stressful hours of my life as all my slides vanished up into a cloud or something. So we have the slightly earlier version of the slides. So apologies if I'm surprised by some of the things that pop up on the screen today. So I'm here to talk about the algorithmic self at play. And when I told my colleagues that this was the title of my talk, they went, "What? What is that?" So I was secretly pleased about that it created a little bit of puzzlement, because anything with mathematical terms in it tends to terrify most psychology people. So the algorithmic self at play really is to look, as John says, at how the quantification and technology has filtered through our health and fitness lifestyle. So just in case he didn't get a chance to, I said I'd doubly introduce myself. So I lead the mHealth Research Group at NUIG Galway. Our group is 2.5 to 3 years old now, and we have started small, but we are getting some traction because the particular area of health and fitness is huge. And then once you bring technology into that, there's really great activity in the research space and of course in the industrial sector. So it's a really exciting area to be working in at the moment. Here's some of the motley crew that I consort with on a daily or weekly basis, and our team is ever changing. It's very multidisciplinary. If it's one thing we learned a long time ago in psychology, we're like the magpie of disciplines, really. We nick a bit from physiology, we nick a bit from maths, we nick a bit from medicine. So we really need a multidisciplinary team. But one of the things we really have learned, especially in this area, is we have a very unique skill set to bring into this type of research, which is an understanding of behaviour, how to predict it, how to change it. And when you think about what we're just talking about, this is sort of key really in all of this discussion. I'm going to give a shameless plug to a conference that we're planning to run for the 3rd year in a row. So anyone who's interested in this and other areas, we have a very multidisciplinary conference, and we got funding from the IRC. This is the first year. This year it's on here in NUI Galway on the 15th of June. We just settled the date this week. So there'll be more details about that down the line. So that's my plugging over with now. So just to talk about the algorithmic self, after that lovely introduction, it sort of has that sense of conspiracy theory. It's slightly worrying, isn't it? The idea that we're being watched and being manoeuvred in various directions. And as we use our phone, we believe we have a unique, personal, intimate relationship with we pick on the phone because it's what most of us have. But what we don't realise is that the data and everything we do, we're being pinged in locations, is forming into a nice little profile of us. And while we may think that we've privacy settings on high, or that what we're doing is very much our own business, I'm reminded when I get into my car in the morning, your journey should take you 12 minutes today, 3 minutes longer than usual because the traffic's heavier. And I'm like, how does it know where I am? How does it know where I'm going? How does it know that I'm getting into my car? And this is the way the technology is going. And then there's that thought of, am I really that predictable? It's very depressing. We've all witnessed a massive growth. There's a lot of when we were children, our play was outside. We've seen a transformation like nothing we've ever seen before in the way technology's everywhere. And each time we learn how to use another little bit of something, there's a 5 minutes of smugness until we discovered someone else has coined the term, used it, knows better, or that's passé 2-year-old technology. But we can't escape it. So most of us are trying to use it now in a way that makes our lives easier and better without necessarily thinking about all the consequences. And in a way, we don't know what the consequences are yet, really, do we? Because we're still learning, and we're still learning how to use it. And so we use it to socialise. And there's a little book I bought my brother for Christmas, the Ladybird Book of Mindfulness, and it reminded me a little bit of what social media has done to our social lives. John likes to think mindfully about his friends. He believes it nurtures a healthy and positive relationship. He'd much rather do that than actually meet them. That's far too much trouble. And I thought you could put in the Facebook thing there or whatever else, that you feel that you're chatting, you're connected, but in a way it's you staring at a screen, isn't it? And this is quite a shift. All the time as you chat with your secret messages that maybe aren't so secret, you send photos, you tag, you like, you navigate your way through a news feed, The machines are learning about you. You'll see now that, Google knows what age you are and it's sending you ads that are age appropriate, which, of course, if you think you're 20 years younger than you are, like some of us, are a bit shocking and disappointing to think that you've been pigeonholed into that type of solution. Your messenger and your phone, as you carry it, it knows where you are and it sort of recognises patterns. So I'm getting traffic advice in the morning when I'm eating my porridge. Twitter, how many people here are on Twitter? Yeah, oh, that's actually very good. It's one of these things that we think is plus. Twitter, academics are getting to quite like it now. They think if they can boost up their citations, happy days, keep the powers that be happy. So your new open source articles are being tweeted far and wide and you can check how many people are seeing them. But there's other ways that your tweets and things are being monitored and they can be used to digitally track disease. Now, while this may seem like a very positive thing, it does show you the power of the data. We have a fantastic Centre for Data Analytics up Insight. Those guys are quiet, they don't come down here very often, but they're the ones who are looking forward into the future about how, oh, there's one, excellent. They sneak in when you're not looking. They're inventing new ways to use data in all kinds of ways. And you have to ask yourself the question, who has the vested interest in how the data is used? So as academics, we're innocently trying to get our citations up. Seems harmless enough. But where there's potentially money to be made, industry is usually 5 years or more ahead of where the consumers. They're probably even more than that. And they're really, the bottom line in industry is how to make money. So in a way, we're pawns to the future capabilities of what technology can do. So shopping, when I discovered that I could Google, where to buy spikes, then get directions on my phone, get their number, ring them, all standing in one spot, and save me driving around like the old days or even walking and then finding the shop is closed. It's all there at your fingertips, but it's being tracked. Because everywhere we go and everything we do, we order online, we leave a digital footprint. And I had some other lovely slides about this, but you're just going to have to imagine them, about the way that retailers are thinking about future shopping for us. Now, isn't it great, the personless checkout? I don't know about you, but I like to have a bit of a chat with the checkout person, So, and then as you're using your phone and the way, we know that retailers are way ahead of us. The milk's always down the back, isn't it? Because that's one of the things we need to buy a lot. If nappies are on special offer, you might go in there and get all your other groceries, or wine. We love our wine. So there's a couple of things that we're predictably maneuvered towards. And with technology, the things we're not even aware of can be tracked now and converted into mechanisms to get us to spend more, in a nutshell. So our data is being used to advertise, market and sell to us. I get, try to keep blocking the Facebook ads. I think I'm in control. Delete. I don't want to see this. Why? None of your business. Delete. But it's recognizing, and I'm hoping that it recognized my disgruntlement as I try to control the things that are being sent into me, but I'm not sure I'm having any impact. Of course, we all got very upset with the WhatsApp. We thought we'd found another secret way to chat to our friends, didn't we? Oh no, Facebook was going green with WhatsApp data, and I was thinking about, what is the stuff I've sent in WhatsApp, and is that going to come back to haunt me? So there is that little bit of sense, isn't there, especially the way it can be portrayed in the media. The machines are coming to get you. It's out of your hands, and look at that last one. You cannot stop how your personal data is being used. Now, a lot of us will say, I've nothing to hide. I live a very boring, innocent life. I don't send rude messages to people. I don't take selfies, and I don't put up any nude photos of me or anyone else I know, etc. But you're being tagged, marked, so even by your non-response, information is being collected about you. So we use it to play games. I haven't even gotten on to the health and fitness because it's just so interesting, all this other stuff too. We use it to play games. So, I know nothing about the games, but I do ask myself the question, will it harm our children? So there's lots of online resources and other resources. Are they going to be stalked by paedophiles? How do you monitor and control it? And, it's all a bit scary, really. Now, of course, moving to the health and fitness, So the idea that it's not a narcissistic self-love is made me laugh. You know, as people monitor and track and control, we wonder, are we feeding into this hypochondriacal society, or is it good that we know stuff? You know, is it good that we keep an eye on our data? We're all amateur doctors now, really, aren't we? You know, we'll say, oh, I've got my pulse, resting pulse, here it is on my phone, and, you know, I know my blood pressure, and, you know, I know that my heart rate goes up and down to this, and that sort of thing. So we feel empowered by the apps a little bit, and we think, yeah, we got some knowledge now we didn't have before. And of course, we won't secretly admit to the fact that secretly we go on Wikipedia as an answer to most of our woes. So stomach ache, oh no, cancer. Headache, oh, brain tumour. You know, so it's really not doing us any good at all. But we are sort of very involved now. And my friends who are GPs, they see the ones coming in with 100 pages printed out from Wikipedia, and they're going, oh, for the love of God. So the self-monitoring is kind of where it's all started with the health. And so how many people have some kind of a tracker device, be it Fitbit or Garmin phone? Put your hands up, give us a look at you. Come on, now, don't be afraid. Or how many people track what they do with their phones? Yeah, very good. So we kind of like that, you know, we feel kind of a little bit ahead of the game with that sort of thing. So this whole sphere called digital health. And when we set up the mHealth group, people kept changing the name. So we were referring to our stuff as app research, and then we realised that was uncool 5 minutes later. Then mHealth was kind of cool, but now digital health is trying to take over. But we're sticking to our mHealth temporarily. And everyone's arguing about which is more important, mHealth, eHealth, digital health, wearables. So I don't know the answer to that, but I quite like this because a lot of the words we hear now in popular culture, we sort of see how they maybe possibly relate to each other, and we think about them in that way. So the health and wellness apps, how many people use one? Doesn't have to be often, but health and wellness apps, give us a show. Yeah, less than I'd expect from a highly educated group now. But no offence or anything. But. So there are actually 100,000 plus health apps. This number is rising all the time. And we know that now, whether we like it or not, Apple and Co. gives their phones with them on it. It's almost like a judgment is being cast upon you. There's your health app, use it. And the European Commission has a sharp eye on this, and an awful lot of the work that we're doing is linked into developments with the European Commission, because we believe they're ones really taking the lead on this as we, this sort of end user, go around in a state of abject confusion. We need to be aware of why this is becoming so popular, because it's worth millions and billions of euro. So while we think we're getting free apps and we can download them and they're maybe a couple of euro, we think this is great, and this market is massive and it's growing exponentially. Now, of course, our dear health service is probably about 10 years behind, or more, but anyway, we'll say 10, behind any developments or their capabilities for use. And the user is probably in between the government and the sort of tech developers. But one of the things that's make them sit up and think is the amount of potential cost savings are enormous. And like, that's a few years old. They're huge. So you may have noticed that they've appointed Richard Corbridge as the head of eHealth in the HSC. And one of the first things that he's doing is this unique identifier for all of us, you know, the electronic identifier. So this is another way to, you know, I suppose, increase efficiencies. But it's another way, isn't it, to track our every move within and around the health system, or so, you know, people are concerned about that. The potential cost savings are enormous. So you have these two things going on simultaneously. You have the developers like the Insight guys who are up there inventing things that we cannot even begin to imagine. And then you have the government with their clunky system recognising, oh my goodness, this is an outdated system, and the potential for saving, which is about the only thing they'll actually really get them thinking, is in the billions. Now, a huge part of the work we do is on the evidence around this. If there's loads of apps and if you guys are using them, do they work for you? Are they going to help you in the ways that are articulated? Sadly, any study we've done so far shows that people who've developed the apps, no offence to the guys, is developers, they haven't thought about the end user in the way that the sort of health benefit angle needs, or the behaviour change, the science of behaviour change. And so a lot of these apps simply don't work. There's such concern over the proliferation of poor quality apps that could potentially do harm that the regulator has set up and said, right, well, we're going to try and regulate. In fact, a strongly worded, published in the BMJ, apps that do harm to patients, and that's just the public as well, will be hunted down. Strong language, isn't it? Like to see that. So it's obviously a source of concern. And I was recently at the Irish Medical Organisation, who, and this shows how far behind they are, have put in a memorandum to request for some guidance on apps they can recommend to patients. I mean, the patients have been using them for 5 years already, so this is where we're at. The barriers include lots of different things, globally, but it's not stopping industry and the developers or the users. And this is what makes it so interesting. We're turning into what we can coin consumer-driven healthcare. The government and the healthcare service, we go, yeah, we have to go there if we're sick, but we're doing our own thing now with all the technology, and we don't know if it's a good or a bad idea. So when we think of the health, we usually think, the patient, whatever, but really and truly, the physical activity and health, the lifestyle dimension of it is what's really important. And from a leisure perspective, this is where a lot of the money is to be made. So when it comes to sport, the use of mobile technology is very advanced, and you've probably heard various ways that we see it, but a lot of us love the gadgets. And if you're in any kind of club, or you run or swim with any kind of social group, if you don't have a gadget, you probably will within a couple of months, as everybody's beeping and pressing and going, oh, I did 5 miles, that 4th mile was very good. And you're thinking, oh, I feel so left out with my bare wrists, I'll have to get one of those things. And all of this has led us to the quantified self. So even in the early days when I took up running, I used to say to the poor tormented leader, how far have we gone now? How far is it to go home? Like a child in the back seat of the car. Are we nearly there? Was that fast? Is that slow? And then I thought, I've got to get one of those myself. And it was lucky, I didn't have more accidents running into poles, staring at this thing on the wrist. And then, of course, they've advanced since then. You have it beeping now, heart rate too high, slow down, thank you very much, I think I will. Or worse still, you're going a bit slow, speed up, I think I'm going fast enough, thank you very much. So the quantified self, and one of the ways that we do this is the sensors or the wearables. So a lot of you have the wearable devices, you know what I'm talking about, Fitbits, all sorts. But let's face it, these have been around a long time. It's all fancy terminology now. So my brother had one of these in the 1970s, and by golly, we thought he was the bee's knees. Star Trek wasn't in it. He was able to do sums on his wrist. And, unfortunately, here we are now, and mine doesn't look a lot nicer than that old thing from the 1970s. But of course, there's a lot of evolution in the wearables now. There's a lot of fanciness. And of course, as consumers, we are gobbling this stuff up. A jacket that does this, a headset that does that. I mean, these are only the things that are on the market or coming to market. The things that are being invented, we can't even begin to believe. It's real space age stuff. So for the leisure market, for the consumer with a few extra bob, for the sports fanatic, we're soft targets to spend loads. I mean, we're in the triathlon club, we say, all you need is a pair of runners. Rubbish. Thousands are being spent on the gadgets and the gimmicks, from the bikes to the things you have to have this, even though your watch does it, and this is the updated one, and the software won't work, etc. You can even get pants now that'll tell you your steps, your stride length, your pelvic rotation. It's critical that we know about our pelvic rotation. And we can get nice pictures and all this, Now, I do love the gadgets, and I've been wearing or using wearable technology, was probably one of the early adopters since 2010. And I'm so addicted to it, it goes everywhere with me now. The slagging I get is your eyesight going, Jane, what's with the big watch? And this lovely thing records swimming, biking, running, and we love all that. So self-monitoring. And I started to think really as a psychologist about why this type of monitoring was so appealing and why the numbers were so appealing. And on a personal level, I've always been a little bit of a numbers nerd anyway, but the idea of tracking it and getting some objective feedback about how you're getting on was very appealing. And these fall into the domain of the behaviour change strategies we use in behavioural science. And here are some of the others. So very early on, I started using the online software to try to get a profile of activity. And I love all these graphs and stuff it generates. And you can generate reports. So if you're slacking off, it's there in black and white. You get the distance, calories. I mean, that's a good one, isn't it? And then since then, the evolution is to the apps. I had to wait until I got home, look at my computer, and then do a bit of twiddling and then get my report. But now it all goes straight onto your app. And in fact, the updated watch is Bluetooth it straight to your phone. So if you have a bad run, everyone can see it on your phone before you have a chance to hide it, And then you find you're apologetically writing notes, felt a bit sick today, i.e. ran slow. So why do we do all this? And of course, if you're in a club or with a group, that you probably have a few ideas about why this has become so important. If it's not recorded, no one will necessarily believe that it happened at all. You mightn't even believe yourself. So if a friend of yours says, I went off out for a cycle today, you're thinking, I wonder how they got on, and you think 100 kilometres, 30 kilometres an hour, oh my goodness, the evidence is all up there. And of course, if it's a good one, we're happy, we're glad that our friends see how fantastically fast we are. And just in case they don't believe it was actually us, that we just attached it to our, car, we put in a photo and it's pinged that location as well. And one of my cycling buddies happily in the audience there knows that definitely happened. So we like to keep a log, we can track our activity, it'll break it down by sport, it'll show us the diary, it'll show us the intensity, and all of the other things. Now it generates leaderboards, which is kind of a new thing. So you were doing fine, you thought, judging against yourself, and now you realise you're only 13th on the leaderboard, and this is a little bit stressful. So you're getting feedback then on your activity. Are you running as well as usual? How does it compare to other runs and so on? And you get profile of the data, including your heart rate. And that was like it this morning as all my slides went up and down like that. And the number of calories. So one march there, I burned 60 Mars bars, which is quite pleasing statistic. So again, in terms of behaviour change and reinforcement, the social support dimension if you're in a public forum. So it's a social online forum for athletes, you can say. So all your connections, you feel you're in a group and they say, well done, that was a great run. And if it's bad, sometimes they tell you that too. Now Strava has a reward system. If you get a king of the mountain, you're the fastest person on the segment. But then if your friend goes out and nicks it, abject depression. And this can cause quite a lot of stress and result in irrational behaviour as you go out there determined to reclaim your former crown. So what about the evidence then? Do all these apps work? Some developers now are building behavioural science in very carefully, and this is one example. And this links in really with the way forward from the developer's point of view, that if it's efficacious and safe, it will be more successful. And some of our recent research has looked at the strategies embedded in these technologies that will work, and a lot of them are the things that we mentioned. And of course, goal setting is one. So we found, even with the student group, by setting quantified goals and getting them feedback and self-monitoring, that this successfully increased their physical activity. So the evidence is building that if they're developed and used in the correct way and they're appealing to users, that they can work quite well. So as we're there playing with our apps, taking our selfies, thinking, I'm great, I've done an extra bit of running or whatever, what's happening in all this data? So most will say it goes in the cloud. Well, ordinary users don't know what happens with the data. It's very interesting that I sort of refer to Strava, because it generates heat maps that shows the areas of high activity by Strava users. Here's Galway West. Don't know if you recognise any of these spots. Anybody recognise the far left?
Arlo Woods?
Yes, very good. And that's the park run. Here's what happens when we're not studying up in NUI Galway. We're up and down, running around those fields, and there's the evidence, a very high level of activity. What happens to this data, and is it going to cause a problem for us? Well, there's a bit of an unknown there, but already we've seen this type of evidence being used in court cases. Now, in this case, actually, it was the defendant who used the evidence. So, where are we going with all of the data, all of the use of technology? Well, it's hard to answer that because we haven't always been that good at predicting, which is why we have the creative geniuses in Insight up there imagining all the possibilities. Driverless cars, that's one that I think that we would really look forward to. It might be the case that our chair will tell us everything we need to know about how our health and well-being is as we watch a bit of telly. It might be the case that we're continuously tracked, and these technologies are being developed and exist already, especially if we have chronic disease, but even if we're healthy. The idea of connecting all of this information in a profile for us to use a predictive model of our future health is well in train. These are things that are being used already, scanning your food as you go around the supermarket. We're working on a new EU project, 4.2 million, which is looking at personalised nutrition using tech solutions for the over 65s. So all innovations are going to be sent to us, and these are probably some of the types of things that we will see. What about gamification? What about reward systems? This is appealing to some but not to others. So personalisation becomes important. One of the things we've learned very strongly with academia is that the government could do its own thing, but if the researchers work with those who are developing the new innovative solutions, we really are onto a good thing there, because we help the innovators, but also we do cutting edge research. And that's what our mHealth group is working on, and it's really exciting developments. This is a new project that we just got funded, which is looking at smart environments and sensors that will tell you, now for dementia it's very helpful, Mary, the kettle is still on, Mary, you forgot to close the press, and so on. So, with all of the technology directing us, helping us, measuring us, are we going to become an army of robots with the invisible barbed wire? Well, we'll leave that up to you to decide. Thank you very much for your attention.